Hello, Nikki. I wanted to talk about the Macbeth story written by Shakespeare, where I'm going to talk about the Act 3, Scene 1. In this act, three main characters are playing the role here: Macbeth, Lady Macbeth, and Banquo. Macbeth, he is the commander of the army. He's a really good leader, but he's also very, very confused, as we see when he becomes king. His mind is going crazy, and he really can't tell what's happening. And yeah, and that's where Lady Macbeth steps in. She's a beautiful woman who takes part of the leader role in the relationship, because Macbeth really doesn't have the 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 bigger eye for things that are happening. So she takes the role there. She's kind of the man in the relationship, but she's also quite cynical. And for example, you see that when she comes, yeah, she takes the idea of killing the foreign king, so that Macbeth can take the crown. And yet then we have Banquo, who is Macbeth's servant in the army, and when he becomes king, and he's very loyal to Macbeth and trusts him. He has a son called Fleance, which is by the three witches predicted to be one of the new kings after Macbeth. And then Banquo is also a bit naive. The scene, the Act 3, Scene 1, that I'm going to talk about is where Macbeth is getting crowned as king, and it all started when, as I said before, Lady Macbeth got the idea to kill the foreign king so that Macbeth could take the crown, and that happens when Macbeth kills the king. The king has two servants outside his tent, and they're making it look like that they were drunk and that someone killed the king, but it was actually Macbeth who killed him. And then afterwards, Macbeth makes the king's sons run away, uh, because they would get killed too as well. And then Macbeth gets crowned, because he's the general commander of the army, and the people trusts him, so he has the best qualifications to become the next king. Um, and after that, there's a celebration, a party where everyone is invited to celebrate that Macbeth is the king. But he while sitting there at the party, Macbeth begins to act crazy, because of what he had done, and yeah, and that makes the people suspicious, and Lady Macbeth has to turn down the party. Yeah, and then Banquo becomes a threat later on in the act. They're talking at the beach about being there to his crowning, and then Macbeth has to kill him and Fleance to make sure that he can't take the throne, because of what the witches. Early on in the story, there are three witches who predicted that Banquo's sons will be later on be kings, and um, Macbeth has a really strong relationship to Banquo, but he also is really afraid of him because of what the witches has predicted. So yeah, and then the hunt begins, where Banquo and his son Fleance are riding on their horses to get something, and Macbeth discusses with with his uh, his knights or his warriors that they should go down and hunt them and kill them, so they wouldn't be a threat anymore. So they kill Banquo in the woods, but his son escapes. Yeah, and then um, the former king's sons, who in the story, they heard about the news, and they have been hiding in England and Ireland and gathering an army, and then at the end of the act, Macbeth has to go to war and fight the brothers, the foreign king's sons. But then Macbeth already has gone crazy, so he just talks to himself, and it's kind of obvious that he's ready to die because he can't handle what he has done to Banquo and the foreign king, and yeah, he can't really handle it anymore. And then yeah, over some time in the act, he gets killed. Yeah, and that's quite sad because he had it all. He was a good commander. He was a good king. But I think it was about that Lady Macbeth maybe pushed him too far into this, and he couldn't really handle the pressure and what he has done to all of them. So yeah, in the last scene, in the last act, he dies by the blade of one of the foreign king's sons. Yeah. Then I wanted to talk about some rhetorical devices. I think it was a bit hard to find some, but I tried anyway, and I thought I had find some metaphors. In one of the in the middle of the scene, um, yeah, Macbeth says there is none but he whose being I do fear, and under him. And what he's saying is, around him my guardian angel is frightened. And what he means by that is, also as I said before, he really looked up to Banquo, and he was kind of afraid to him. He was a threat to him because of what the witches have said, and he actually describes it here as a metaphor, saying that around him my guardian angel is frightened. And it's another way, yeah, of saying that Banquo is a threat to him. And then there's one more here where he says, only for them and mine internal duel giving to the common enemy of man, to make them kings, the seed of Banquo kings. Yeah, I've handed over my everlasting soul, and what he says there is actually, I've handed over my everlasting soul to the devil so that they could be kings, which mean that he actually did something so horrible that it took his soul away, and yeah, as he says, he handed his soul over to the devil. He couldn't recognize himself anymore, and that's a big problem for him now. And that's also why he really can't live anymore. He just has to surrender and forget everything because he's not worthy of life anymore. And that's the big question. So yeah. Thank you, Nikki. I hope it was okay. Bye.